I had someone say that today. I was getting my car serviced, and he's like, "Oh, this guy is just like, oh, you're very reserved." And so I'm just like, you want me to get like this? So it's just like, you want me to turn up? Like, do I need to be doing this to make myself look interesting? Maybe. Maybe. Anyway. Hey there, I'm Raquel, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. Can you believe that we're in a world where loneliness is an epidemic? Social media has really connected us, right? Social media has really connected us in so many ways, but it's also seemed to have left out the most important connection, which is real human connection. I can connect with anyone, anywhere around the world, pretty much, whether it's a relative that may have moved away, a friend from elementary school, maybe a friend from high school, maybe a coworker from like my first job. Anyone in life, you can connect with them through social media. We have so many ways to connect, and yet we're still so very lonely. If you're feeling lonely today, you're not alone in that. The loneliness epidemic that we're facing right now is a little nuanced, more severe, and more widespread, mainly, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people. It's due to social media. It's due to these parasocial relationships that we form while also neglecting in person connections. So, a parasocial relationship is you and me right now. I'm talking to you and you're listening to me, but we don't really know each other. But you can feel like you know me, even though we've never met before. A lot of these connections where we're forming with connections with people online that we don't really know or haven't connected with in person is really hurting us mentally. I'll add VR, virtual reality, in this as well. Being in a space where you're alone and you're connecting with people who may not be people, who are maybe AI or people that you may know, but you're in this simulation called virtual reality. That's also not real human connection. Human connection is, a touch, a feel, a hug, a kiss on the cheek, a kiss on the lips, and, a glance in the eye, body movements that you can see and make judgments on. And we miss all of that when we're just connecting, or mostly connecting, through social media. They say communication is 80 to 90% nonverbal, which says a lot. You can get clues and read people's thoughts in a way just by how they're maneuvering without editing, without cutting, like we do in social media. This video would be edited and cutted, and cutted. This video would be edited and cut to make it shorter and more concise for you. But in real life, when we're actually talking to someone, when they're expressing their thoughts, we can get a glance not of just what they look like in person, but also their body movements, the voice fluctuations, and all of that unedited, so we can get a real glimpse into who this person is. With social media, it kind of cuts all of that out by giving you an edited version of the person that you're watching, of their life, of everything that's going on. And so social media in this modern age has really influenced our communication, and it's also created, you know, loneliness. For an introvert like me, I welcome being alone. For the most part, I don't really have an issue being alone, being an introvert. But I know if I continue to remove myself from people, that can start to weigh on me emotionally. Because as human beings, we're We're social beings. We're not supposed to be alone 24/7. We didn't come into this world alone. None of us came into this world alone. I don't know who made that up. None of us came into this world alone. Someone birthed you out of their vagina. You came out of somebody. You came out of someone. And there was likely a doctor present. There was probably also a nurse present. So there was at least 2 to 3 people there when you were born. And if you weren't born here and you actually did come into this world alone, then you're probably an alien and we need to do some studies on you immediately. But if you're a human being, and also if you're an alien, you probably don't need this video. You're probably okay. This video is not for you if you're an alien. But if you are a human being, you need to socialize, whether you're an introvert, an ambivert, or an extrovert. I hope I said that right. And a lot of things that we need to do to break this loneliness epidemic is on the individual. It's not just on people accepting you. You need to first accept yourself and then put yourself in a position to be welcomed, whether it's if you're feeling lonely and you're just so used to, say you're at work and you're so used to taking your lunch break, I don't know, in your car or sitting out on the bench to eat or looking at a video. Maybe one of those days ask a friendly coworker, because you can't ask all your coworkers. Use some sense here. Ask a friendly coworker, hey, you want to go out to lunch today? Or you want to have a coffee this upcoming weekend? Or, someone that you've talked to, maybe hi and bye here and there, and you can see that they're friendly. You can welcome them to have a coffee, have lunch. No matter who you are, where you've come from, we all need social connection, real social connection. And so I do have a few tips on how you can do that. Whether you're an introvert or extrovert, I tend to think introverts can get more lonely because they're so used to being alone. It's hard to know it's time to socialize. Extroverts have that natural tendency to seek out social interaction. So I tend to think introverts can probably fall into this loneliness epidemic, or extroverts that have been rejected one too many times or consistently, it can weigh on their self-esteem and they can kind of burrow within themselves, even though they're naturally extrovert and want to talk to people. They can go through those ebbs and flows in life. But introverts, they're, as far as me, I'm naturally quiet and reserved. I had someone say that today. I was getting my car serviced and he's like, oh, this guy is just like, oh, you're very reserved. And I'm just like, you want me to get like this? So it's just like, you want me to turn up? Like, do I need to be doing this to make myself look interesting? Maybe. Anyway, everyone has their wild side. We need to socialize. We need to communicate. And it's not just on other people. It's on you, the one who's watching this video. It's on you as well. If you're feeling lonely, here are some tips to help you fight that loneliness. As women especially, we need to validate our feelings of loneliness. Our feelings are valid, and it's not just a women issue. Loneliness epidemic affects everyone, man, woman, child. So validate the fact that you are lonely. It's not a weakness to want a friend. It's not weakness to want a companion. It's not a weakness to want somebody there to love you. It's not a weakness to want to love someone. That was something I always knew, but it was always categorized to me as, a bit of a weakness to embrace that side of me. Technically, our families are supposed to be our first real connection in this world, or our siblings are supposed to be our first friends. And it was in my case. My siblings were my friends. I didn't have that many friends at first because I had so many siblings and we would just always hang out together. Our families are our first social relationship. Unfortunately, our families can lack that nurturing that we need as children and even, as adults. And we form our own families, sometimes we can lack that love. And we can find that in other connections. But we first need to validate that feeling that we do feel lonely, that we do want a friend, that we do want support, that we do want to express love, and we do want to receive love. So validate that feeling. My tip number 2 is to plan ahead for times when you know that that loneliness will start to creep up on you, that feeling, that heaviness. I know as a woman, I have a monthly cycle, of course. If you're watching, you probably do too. And so at certain times during the month, I need a little bit more love than at other times, okay? So in those times, I plan ahead. If I know I'm starting to get aggy about something, that'll usually tell me, you know, where I am in the process of life. I don't want to get too detailed about this, but as a woman, we have our cycles, and our cycles and our hormones give us a different perspective in life. And so when you're feeling lonely, especially as a woman, prepare for those times. Prepare for what you need, whether it's, taking care of yourself, more going on a walk. Um, Sometimes we just need the extra boost for ourselves to be able to get over that hump of how we're feeling. It's a lot that we go through as women, and our cycles they're very important to monitor. And so when you're aware of your cycle, you can plan ahead for certain things, especially if you don't have someone in your life that you can really count on. That doesn't have to be a husband or a boyfriend. It could be someone that you just really depend on, someone that you can talk to. For yourself, you just need to take the time out to relax and do things that'll boost your progesterone, especially. I'll link a video somewhere below that talks more about this. I linked this same video and the one a video I did previously, but I'll link it here again. It talks about hormones and what women need, and how we really need to care for ourselves during certain times. My tip number 3 is to plan for social events. Plan social events in your calendar, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month. As an introvert, I don't need to socialize that much, but I do know I need to socialize. Plan a day to go over a friend's house. Plan a day to go to a meetup group event. I'll link meetup below. See what's going on in your area. There could be tons of things you can be going to, and just force yourself to go to a social event where you're in person and stay there for at least 45 minutes to an hour and talk to someone. You never know who you might run into. Planning events like this can go really good or really bad. Part of socializing is the fear of being rejected. It's time to get over that a little bit. Sometimes we'll be rejected. Sometimes things may not go our way all the time, but that won't always be the case. But you have to put yourself in that position, not only to fight the loneliness, but to also grow yourself. So I would encourage you, especially if you're an introvert, to plan 1 or 2 times out of the month where you're putting yourself in an atmosphere where you need to socialize. And it doesn't have to be a wild, crazy event. It's springtime, things are coming up. There's places to go, things to see. So look for them. Tip Tip number 4 is to exercise outdoors or at the gym. I know the gym is, you just put your I know, at least I do. I put my headphones on and I just go to town. But every once in a while, join a class. Join a class, say hello to someone, make a friend. If you're outdoors, if there's a park near you, take a walk. If there's a dog park, especially, you don't have to have a dog. Go to a dog park and just take a walk around. Say hello. Oh, what kind of dog is that? Blah, blah, blah. Socialize. You have, some people who don't want to be bothered, and you can always tell that, especially when they have the both ear plugs in. I usually have one in and the other one free. And I'm looking and smiling at people as I walk by. And take the time out to go to these areas and say hi, possibly make a friend. My tip number 5 is to listen to music. Sometimes we can get in a real funk, and music has the ability to really lift the soul. I know sometimes when I'm feeling lonely or sad about something, I'll listen to encouraging music to realize that, for one, I'm not alone because there are so many people going through what I'm going through. And two, it can encourage me to do something about it. So, listening to music can help lift your spirits and help you get out of that lonely place. Tip number 6 is to volunteer. I think this is probably the best one on the list, in my opinion. I used to do a lot of volunteer work before COVID. I was volunteering at a food pantry, and this was in January 2020. And I had just gotten really sick. I had to take 2 weeks off of work. I didn't know what it was, but I had to take 2 weeks off of work, and they weren't testing for COVID at that time. But I do believe I did catch COVID at that time. And then, of course, in March, April, May, that's when everyone's like, oh, this COVID-19 stuff. But regardless, it's still a good idea to volunteer, especially now, okay? So volunteer at a charity event, volunteer at a food pantry, volunteer at a clothing drive, volunteer at a local church. Any of these areas where people are giving of themselves, it's a different kind of energy, and it's a more welcoming kind of energy. Everyone's there to serve and everyone's more open. So that's the best place to go to socialize and to talk to people about things that have nothing to do with charity. I've gotten into some really interesting conversations about, career, and met some people working in different fields. So take the time to volunteer at a charity. It feeds the soul in so many ways, and it'll help you not to feel so lonely while also helping someone else not to feel lonely. Tip number 7 is to be encouraged by your own spiritual principles. I know for me, I have a belief that I'm never really alone. Loneliness can only go so far with me until I realize that, as far as my principles and my beliefs, I don't believe I'm ever really alone. Dig into your core beliefs, rehearse them to yourself, and hopefully you can find encouragement in that. I know my principles and my beliefs have really helped me get over a lot of humps in my life. Times when I really couldn't talk to anyone about certain things. Resting in my beliefs and my hopes and my faith has really brought a lot of joy in my life. And that has really encouraged me in times when I felt lonely to keep going, to keep progressing and do something, not just sit there feeling lonely, but to one, know that I'm not alone, and two, get out of that mindset that I have to be alone or that I'll always be alone, or, so my principles really help to encourage me from the inside out. My tip number 8 is kind of like a stern encouragement for those who need to hear it. to get over the awkwardness and get over yourself. Yeah. There are people who are just as lonely as you waiting for that connection. And sometimes we'll have that inclination to want to talk to somebody or socialize and be a friend to someone. And sometimes we don't because it's just like, oh, what are they going to think about me? Oh, how do I look? Should I even be here? All that kind of stuff. Get over yourself. Get over that awkwardness we miss out on in life because we're too much overthinking. We're too much into ourselves. Get out of your head. Get out of your own way. This is for those who need to hear it. It's not for everyone. Um, but for those who need to hear it, get over yourself, get out of your own way, and get out of your head. So those are my tips, and I really hope you were encouraged by them. I'll leave a link below on a number you can call for those who need extra care, extra help, and extra attention. But I do hope you enjoyed this video. And stay tuned for more videos to come, and I'll see you in my next one. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.